Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to the Iowa Democratic Party Leadership Forum. My name is Joey Norris. I am the former Montgomery County Party Chair and State Senate candidate. Tonight, we have the opportunity to listen to the visions and the experiences of the IDP's next leadership. Until 8 p.m., we will be talking with the candidates for chair. After 8 p.m., we will hear from vice chair, secretary, and treasurer candidates. This forum was organized by the outstanding volunteers with the Southwest Iowa Democrats and the Heart of Iowa Democrats, two, in my opinion, inspirational rural collaborative groups who choose to live their democratic values and make their impact greater than the sum of their individual counties. So on behalf of these exemplary organizations, thank you for being here. Before our main event, I will quickly go over some housekeeping with everyone. Please, right now, take a second to ensure you are muted. I ask that you keep your microphones and your cameras muted for the duration of tonight's event. This forum is being live streamed on Facebook, and the recording will be available on Facebook and YouTube tomorrow. If you lose connection and cannot rejoin this Zoom meeting, please go to the Southwest Iowa Democrats Facebook page for the live stream. You can view captions for this event by selecting the CC button on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen to show captions. Our Zoom attendees may use the chat. You can find the chat button on the bottom of your screen as well. With that out of the way, it is my great honor to hand things over to the one and only charismatic Deidre DeJear.
Joey, leave you to just lay it out for us. I am incredibly excited about this time that we have together. And the reason why I'm excited about this time that we have together is because us convening in this moment right now, it's just pure evidence that the fight in this state is not done. It could have been an easy wash for us to say, after 2022, we've given up on our party. We've given up on democratic values. We've given up on education and the future of this state. But we have some incredible candidates here today who are saying we're not giving up. In fact, we're going above and beyond, and we're signing up so that we can move this state forward collectively. Now, mind you, there's a lot of work that we need to do. And we know the candidates on this line know that and believe that they can't do it without us. And so I'm very, very excited that we're here. Let me give you a few ground rules. There are a minimum of 5 questions that we're going to go through on each of our candidates today. The same question will be asked to each candidate, and they'll have 90 seconds to answer. Now, we all love a good rebuttal, and we're fans of the rebuttal in this forum. However, if one is to rebut, they must rebut in the 90 seconds that they're allotted. We have an incredible timekeeper who will be keeping track of time in the chat and directly to the candidates, and politely, when they go over time, she will then give them grace by not kicking them off the call, but simply muting their voices so that we can move on to the next question. But we know it's going to be incredibly difficult for everyone to get all of these questions answered in the 90 seconds that's allotted, but they're going to do their darndest. And if there are some questions that are just eating at you, please put them in the chat. If we don't get to them today, we're going to make sure that the candidates get a hold of them and they can talk about those for the duration of the next 7 days, because elections are coming up. Joey, are we ready to get this show on the road?
I'm ready if you're ready.
I'm ready. Each and every candidate was asked the same question. And that question really gets to the heart of problem solving in our rural communities. 2/3 of Iowa counties are under 20,000 people. They all voted Republican, these counties, a change from Obama's rural performance. How can we engage these counties to vote and align with Democrats? Our chair candidates today are Rita Hart, Bob Kraus, and Brittany Rulin. And we're going to start with Rita in answering this question. Just a reminder to each of the folks who are listening today, this one question was provided to each of the candidates in advance, and this only question was provided to them in advance. Rita, your time starts now.
Well, hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. And yeah, I'll jump right into answering that question, Deidre, although I thought we were going to make opening statements, but I'll go ahead and...
That's a true statement, Rita. That is a true statement. And I jumped the gun because I'm super excited about questions. We're just going to go back to the program and start with opening statements, beginning with Rita Hart. Thank you so much.
Okay, Deidre, it's really great to be here. And I'm happy to join you and all the great people that are on this call. I'm calling in from my farm. I'm here at my kitchen table, just 4 miles outside of the little town of Wheatland, a town of 700 people, and I'm really happy to be here. But to be honest with you, I have never had serving as chair of the IDP as an ambition of mine. But it's clear because of where I live, because of the experiences that I've had, that I care deeply about the success of Iowa Democrats. I've been a teacher, a farmer, a state senator, a lieutenant governor, and congressional candidate. And through those experiences, I've seen time and time again how the policies that our leaders implement affect everyday Iowans. So my focus is squarely on helping our party begin winning elections again. So for the past few weeks, I've been involved in conversations about the kinds of changes that I think it's going to take, that has to take place at IDP. I think tonight we'll hear a lot of similar proposals about how to communicate better, how to organize better, how we can work with our allies and partners. But the question really is, how do we make these things happen? I've won 2 races in a state Senate district that Donald Trump carried twice in my 2020 congressional race. We raised $5 million and outperformed Joe Biden by more than any of the other congressional races. After that race, I became Clinton County chair, where I've seen at a grassroots level the kinds of changes that our county parties need to do to work more effectively. So I know it is not going to be easy, but I'm heartened because the support of people that I've heard from throughout the conversations with people on the State Central Committee and folks across our state is very encouraging. With that in mind, I want to thank everybody here tonight for stepping up, being involved, organizing this event, and being part of it in any way, shape, or form. It's a lot.
All right, thank you so much, Rita. We have 3 candidates for chair: Rita Hart, Bob Kraus, and Brittany Ruland. Bob Kraus, if you would give us your opening 2-minute remarks. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Deidre. I'm going to answer the first question, which is provided by the panel, and it says 2/3 of our counties are under 20,000 people. They all voted Republican. How do we engage them to vote Democrat? I was elected to a state legislative district 3 times. That little district had 17 newspapers in it and 3 radio stations. It was all American small town. I grew up on a farm. The nearest town of Fenton had nearly 500 people, if you counted dogs and cats. Today it has about 200, counting dogs and cats. So I've been there. I've walked the walk. I lived through the farm crisis. I hated to go home because all the neighbors were having auctions, closing down their farms. But the urban people have to listen to this problem too, because this is not just a rural problem. Sioux County, a few elections ago, had a bigger margin for the Republicans than all of Polk County. They canceled out, Sioux County canceled out the biggest county and the biggest Democratic county in the entire state. And we let this slow cancer creep, so we're getting margin after margin after margin out there. And we got to turn it around. I think there is a way to do it. And one is to fill every ballot out there. We had about 30 candidates, or 30 state legislative races where we had no candidates. Every one will give you at least another 1,000 votes up and down the ballot. And we ignored those votes. We could have had those votes, but we got to have it. So now what I'm proposing is a full ballot committee starting at the county level that starts this year, and actively recruits, make sure we know who's running, who's not, and then works to fill those. Say what? Am I out of time?
Keep going, Bob. It looks like we're getting some interference, but keep going. Oh, well, it looks like you are out of time. It was just right there on the hair where we got the interference. All right, thank you, Bob, for answering the question. And now we will go on to Brittany.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the introduction. So many of you might know me. I just came off of a winning campaign, one of the bright spots in the most recent election, Senator Sarah Interim Garrett. And we learned a lot from that, but we'll talk more about that later. I really want to talk about what it is to be having a better day in Iowa as a Democrat, because I don't know about anybody else, but I was extremely disappointed, and it was disheartening knowing that we were sending my senator up to the Capitol to become somebody who is in a super minority. And that's just really, really difficult because there was amazing candidates that we really wanted to send up there with them. And so what that looks like, you know, a little bit of stuff you guys don't know about me is I have 20 years of leadership and organizing, specifically in rural counties all over the country. And so I am really excited to have the opportunity to apply that in Iowa. I've been here for several years now. I have 4 beautiful children, and they are some of the most politically, you know, kids who want to be involved. I'm just really excited about it. As far as the first question, I believe that there's some serious issues. So even though you probably see downtown Des Moines out of my window, this is the first time I've actually lived in a city. So I grew up in rural Washington state, and farmers, both sides. And so when I came out to Iowa back in 2019 to work the caucuses, I had the opportunity to work over 26 counties in my region. And while I was out there, I was continuously hearing the same message, which is what we had heard over and over and over again, and that is people are feeling ignored. We show up weeks before we need a vote. We beg them to come and vote for our people, and then, you know, we just disappear after that. And so what I think we need to do is we need to start rebuilding that trust, and we'll talk more about that later, I am sure. And I know I'm almost out of time, so we'll get to that a little bit more, but we really need to rebuild trust.
Thank you so much, Brittany. As you all have heard, our 3 candidates have shared, you know, why they want to be the next chair of the Iowa Democratic Party, a job that has incredible burdens, but a job that can also bring life and light to our communities all around. And we're excited that we have 3 solid candidates who are presented to us today. And Joey, I think it's your turn to actually officially kick us off with the questions.
I think we could do it that way. That was great. That was great conversation, everybody. I appreciate you and your introductions. That was the opportunity to talk about our rural differences. But now we're going to jump into things ranging from financing to diversity. And I hope you're all prepared, and we will change the order as we go. This first question. What was that, Deidre?
I'm good on doing the first one.
Yep, you can do the first one, sure.
All right.
I'll hand it over to the charismatic as ever, Deidre DeJear.
Cool beans.
Keep things
All right.
rolling.
So one of the things that you all talked about as it related to engaging in our rural communities, what we have seen and learned over time is that our party is diverse. Urban, rural, suburban, our nationalities and genders, our belief systems, our faith, what we stand for as individuals. And the big question that we have today is, in light of those differences, how do we use the organization of the Iowa Democratic Party to strengthen our ability to perform throughout our communities? Because at the end of the day, we look at this previous election cycle, we as Democrats did not have the wherewithal collectively to connect with our base. And so how are we going to use this organization to do just that, considering the diversity that exists? And we're going to alternate. Is that okay? And who goes first? All right, so we'll start with you now, Bob.
What's the question?
So the question is, how are we going to use the Iowa Democratic Party to connect to the diversity that exists in our state?
Okay, we have resources that the rural areas especially don't have. Something as simple as emails. I think every county has their own personal email base, but for $1,500, the party can buy and upgrade regularly the entire state voting list, including independents and Democrats. we should be able to take that list, break it out to county, which is very simple, and then make arrangements so locals can come in and feed into us with emails that we can send out the entire county if we've got a fundraiser. Rural counties are very weak on the number of people that they have anymore that can do things. And for some of those counties, just carrying a mailing list, an email mailing list, is a tough thing. That's something that the party can do cheaply with one person and can really saturate a county with advertising for fundraisers, candidates, and these kinds of things. That's one idea. We can do. We can also do rural Iowa talking points that we can send out. This is something that if we do have the state steering committee soon, the county can receive rural talking points. There can be urban county talking points. We have to multiply our message in different ways. A statewide picture doesn't get us all we want. We need to revitalize the counties, and those are two ways to do it.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Next up is Brittany. And I'll repeat the question. With all of the diversity that exists across our state, rural, urban, suburban, our demographics that you heard earlier, what skills are you bringing to the table to help move this organization forward in such a way that we're meeting the needs and connecting to those folks?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you guys asked that question. So one of the first things that I always do when I go somewhere to work is I start looking at the data. And in that data, when I came out here in 2019, in my region of the 4th Congressional District, Steve King Country, there were Latino voters that were 16.9% registered Democrats. Those are people that should be able to vote now, and we shouldn't have to worry about registering and bringing in. And out of that 16.9%, less than 5% actually showed up to vote for a primary and a general election. That is unacceptable. I do not accept those numbers as being what we need to do as a party. So there is a disconnect in our messaging. We are not reaching these marginalized communities. We have them all over the state, rural and urban. And so we really need to focus on our messaging. We need to be able to sit down with the leaders of these communities and ask them what we can do to invest in their communities, not try to tell them what we believe that we should be doing. And that is what I firmly believe is how we would reach those communities and bring them back into the fold of our party.
Thank you, Brittany. And Rita, same question. With all of the diversity that exists across our state, and we have this organization, the Iowa Democratic Party, how will you as chair move this organization forward so that it meets the needs of our growing diverse populations?
Sorry, I forgot to do that. Okay. Yeah, I think that that is something that Democrats celebrate, is our diversity. And we ought to be able to harness that kind of energy around the diversity that we have. And so I found that, my experience just this last year as county chair has only solidified what I already knew about how we've got to utilize the people across this state in many volunteer capacities to spread that messaging. But the state party itself has an obligation to create a message that we can all get behind, keeping in mind that every campaign, every candidate has a reason why they are the candidate in the area that they are from, and that they have a message that they are running on that they can be successful at. But again, that's where the state party needs to be able to amplify their message and help them to help the counties and the districts where they reside to get that messaging out. And I think that Brittany and Bob have both pointed out that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to being able to amplify those messages and engage the kinds of people across the state that can do us that can help us actually get people elected. The bottom line is it comes down to resources, and how are we going to be able to get the resources that we need in order to activate the every corner of every county in order to get that done.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the three of you all for answering that question. Just a public service announcement. We are at capacity in this Zoom, and if you've got friends who are trying to tap in, our moderators are going to put a link to a Facebook Live that they can tap into, just so you know. Now, Joey's gonna give us the next question.
Yep, and that Facebook Live for everybody is the Southwest Iowa Democrats as well. So they can search that on through Facebook. Well, thank you all for responding to that diversity question. Along with, I personally think the IDP has done a fairly exemplary job of including all these different caucuses. As we've grown and identified all these unique individual groups of diversity, they've included them in their organizational structure. But something that I think we can, in rural counties, can somewhat agree on through the IDP is that they seem to have not played very well with county parties in the past. So candidates, what is your vision for the relationship between the state and the county parties going into the future? And we're going to do Brittany, Rita, and then Bob. So Brittany, go ahead.
All right, awesome. This is something I've thought about a lot because, again, I've just spent so much time in rural areas and I really have a heart for it. I truly, truly believe that this is all, you're going to hear this from me tonight a lot. It all starts with listening. It really does. As chair, I would personally want to immediately do, some sort of a listening tour to every single county. And that would look like if 2 people show up, so do I. Okay. If there's 200 people show up, so do I. Because if I'm not showing up and I'm not listening to what is needed to start building out those county parties and asking what resources they need, then I'm not going to be able to get them on board with what we're asking them to do. Along with that, similar to something that Bob was saying before in the previous question, email lists are great, but we are seeing just so many people just really, really tired of them. And something that I would really like to get all of the county parties to invest in to bring folks in is a type of network that is social media. And with that, we would be able to not even utilize financial resources because we would have, somebody who would be helping us with comms, or until we had the financial ability to do that, I would do it myself, but activate everybody across the state so that when we need people to show up, like we are seeing right now with the public voucher issue for schools, we would be able to activate everybody and our voices would be very, very loud, even though we have a minority in the Senate and the situation in the House. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany. The idea to amplify, especially for cheap or free, seems like a good idea. All right, Rita. In the past, the state party apparatus seems to have not played very well with county parties. What specifically would you do to help those relationships between the county and the state?
Yeah, I think it's so crucial that we start getting this right. We've got so many great people who have been working hard at the county level for a very long time. And some of those counties have a few more resources at their disposal than others. But we've got committed people who want to do everything that they can to get people elected in their districts, in their counties. And who knows better how to get people elected than the people that are leading in that county. And so again, that's why I found that my experience as a county party chair this year has been invaluable. I've been able to create some relationships with other county party chairs. I've been able to work with the people in my county to recognize that what the state could do that would really help the county parties be able to achieve their goals quicker, faster, more efficiently. And again, going back to what we talked about with messaging, if we had templates to work with, if we had additional resources at the county level, that is what the counties are asking for. That's what they need in order to be successful. And so again, we do need to listen to them. We have to also have the resources that it takes to really be an asset to them and help them to be empowered to get the job done.
I think that sounds exciting. Being a chair and hearing from chairs is 2 totally different things. So the experience is invaluable, I think, in this opinion.
I totally agree.
All right, Bob, the playing well between the state party and the county parties, how would you help build that relationship?
Well, I was a county chair also. I've been on the Central Committee 3 times. So I've seen the inner workings of the party at both levels. And in terms of where we need to go first, I think it needs to be with our mechanism to raise money. This is our fat year where we go out and we have our little fundraisers in 2023 and we raise piles and piles of money that we can spend in 2024. We need to start immediately by enhancing the levels of getting counties cash. And I think things like a speakers bureau and a coordinating a lot of rural counties that don't have any elected officials anymore. We need to send rural legislators and urban legislators from other areas. We need to have some speakers who can float around and get that message out. We've got a great message on the plate because of this disaster that's happening with education right now. We have to hammer it in. And this is the opportunity to do it. We need to send people out to those fundraisers, and we also need to have that email flash where we can get lots and lots and lots of local people to their local fundraisers. I think that will do a lot right there. Promptness on getting stuff distributed during precinct caucuses, that's always a hurt time. We need to work on the delivery system on that to make sure it's not quite as painful. There's other things like that, but I think right now the number one thing that we have to.
Oh, there's a perfect example, everyone, of our judicious Pat Shipley on the timer there. If you do go over, if you keep an eye on your chat for the timing as we go here, but if you go over 2 minutes, you're cut off. But I think I love the idea of being able to raise money effectively as well, Bob, there. And I think most folks involved with the IDP would agree. All right, back to Deidre.
Joey, this is the lightning round and it's 90 seconds, not 2 minutes.
Oh, 90 seconds. All right.
90 seconds.
Keep an eye on that chat, folks.
All righty then. So moving on to our next question. The last question, we spoke a lot about, it seemed like there's a theme about connectivity and building communities in different ways and how you communicate with people. And one thing for sure amongst Democrats that we all agree upon is we need a message. And so, we heard that so much and we continue to hear it. And there's no right or wrong answer to this specific question, but it will give folks an idea of how you think. And this question is, what do you think are the top 3 narratives as Democrats? What are the top 3 narratives as Democrats? And we're going to start with Rita Hart on this one. Unmute. There you go.
I want to make sure I understand that question, Deidre. So the top narratives for messaging, is that what you're asking for?
Well, what are our top 3 narratives as Democrats that could be aligned with messaging, or however you want to interpret the word narrative?
Sure. And yeah, I think that that's been the frustration, I think, that people have, is that the Republicans are able to get their messaging out in a pithier fashion and people know who the Republicans are. And also that the Republicans have been very successful at branding us, at defining us in ways that are not accurate. And then we spend a lot of time on defense. We, of course, can see right now with what's happening in the Capitol that one of our most important narratives has to do with the belief that we support public education. I think that is a winning issue for us. I think that resonates with everyone in the state. We all recognize how important education is and how important it has been in our past. I also think it's a thing of what was troubling in some of the research that was done last time was that people have a tendency to not believe that Democrats believe in hard work. And that is so contrary to who Democrats are. We have got to reclaim that Democrats are the party that cares about workers, cares about workers' rights, cares about good paying jobs, cares about making sure that families can support their children in an easy way in this state. And then I think the other thing is of course equality and equity, that we value fairness, that we value all people, and that everyone has a chance to succeed in a society that is powered by democratic ideals.
Thank you so much for that answer. And just so for folks who are listening, to button up those 3 things. For Rita, we believe in public schools and funding our public schools and education. We believe in hard work and the value of hard work for Iowa people. And we also believe in that equity component, ensuring that people's hard work can actually pay off in our communities. Thank you so much for that answer, Rita. We are now going to go to Bob.
Okay, narratives tend to evolve with the most recent monster issue that hits. But you can work to keep them alive because some of these are critical. You know, the one that is 2 years old already is Save Democracy Now. We had a national coup on January 6th. Now we've got essentially one-party government in Iowa, and we're seeing the results of that. That is something that we can hammer home. Secrecy is coming back. LGBTQs are being attacked. We got the CRT, critical race theory, that is used as a blanket to kill all Black history in this state. It's terrible. Fascism is just around the corner. We have to press that. That is, people are Democrats in their heart because they believe in democracy. We have to push that. I think the other thing that we need to do, if I can read my notes, education obviously is a huge thing, especially in the rural areas, because we're going to have story after story on decimation of rural systems. And I think corruption is creeping in. You can see it with what's happening with the control of the utilities board and what's going on the pipelines there. You can see it with all the out-of-state money that is bankrolling the so-called education reform of the 10 top.
All right, Bob. So we heard 3 of yours. Saving democracy. Of course, we're going to hear that from a veteran who's committed his entire life to service, but saving our democracy and also ensuring that we have strong systems that are free from corruption. Thank you so much for that, Bob. And lastly on this question, Brittany.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important that we are talking about narrative, because like we were just talking about, you know, county parties are feeling like they don't know what to put out because we're not being very clear. We just kind of all been on our little islands, as I like to call it, and trying to do the best that we can for the areas that we're in. But we're dealing with a serious issue. I do agree with Rita that the Republicans, regardless of whatever they're doing in between, you know, stuff, they always at the end of the day have each other's backs, and their narrative is always the same. And you know, I really believe that we need to be able to do the same thing. So as a mother, public education absolutely super important. But I do believe the main thing that we need to be talking about is that families don't know how to have food security right now. SNAP benefits are being taken up in the legislature right now too, to go after basic needs. That is something when you're on the doors. I don't know how many people on this call have been on the doors in the last like 6 months to a year, but people don't know how to buy the things that they need. And so we need to be addressing that issue. We need to be able to be talking about how we are going to fund the programs. And of course, equity is important as well, but we want to make sure that it's tangible and not just something that's anecdotal. So that's what I have.
All right, thanks, Brittany. So public education and food security and ensuring that our economy is set up to help people be able to navigate supplying their own basic needs. Thank you so much for that, Joey.
All right, we're going to go Bob, Brittany, and then Rita on this one. With the changes with the First in the Nation caucuses, it's likely to be more difficult for Iowa to do general fundraising for political candidates. The caucus changes will likely provide further advantages to Republican candidates in Iowa as well, as they've still got the First in the Nation status for their primary. How do you plan to effectively challenge Iowa's red state image? Bob, you're first. And you're muted, Bob.
Well, the dilemma that we face is that if we don't do something, the Republicans are going to run over us in the media. We're going to have a lot of high visibilities, and we'll have zip. And it's going to affect us on money. It's going to affect us on candidates. It's going to affect us on issues. It's going to affect our overall ability to operate. So I'm saying that right now that we've got to say no to the DNC on doing something on the First in the Nation. The losses are only the delegates. We're less than 1% of the national convention. And we can have a straw poll, kick it off with a straw poll. No candidates will come in, but there'll be enough national media and probably 501c4s coming in that there will be some visibility. It will not be connected with the caucus, or the delegate selection won't start until the district, but we will send delegates and let the DNC kick them out. But it's too important to walk away from that. How much time do I got? Yeah. So that in a nutshell, I could talk forever on it.
Wow. So you're saying more of like a primary, a straw poll, but keep it and just
Yeah, we've got to. Otherwise, there'll be no chatter during that entire period, probably starting next summer through till whenever the caucuses are.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Bob. That's definitely over your 90 seconds. I appreciate your input.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we're going to Brittany. So in light of the caucuses, how do you plan to effectively challenge Iowa's red state image?
Yeah, no, great question. We get really big and we get really loud because that's what we have. We have our voices. Again, going to keep going back. We are in a super minority. We have one thing on our side, and that's our voices. And we get real big and we get real loud until we get national organizations' attention, because we're not going to stand for this. And as chair, I really want the opportunity to be able to be big and loud on behalf of every Democrat in this state. And I really look forward to it, because I believe that people need to know how horrible the governor is being and allowing these pieces of legislation that are going to out kids like mine who are LGBTQ+ at school. Thankfully, he is in a home that, will be loving, and he's great. But I'm going to have as many of his teenage friends on my living room floor who get kicked out. That needs to get national attention. That is how we say we are a purple, if not a blue state, and we will be big and we will be loud until everybody understands that that's what we're going to do. So that's what I plan on.
I think one of the most valuable things you could do is add a little energy to the IDP. Seems like you got that in spades. Well, thank you, Brittany. Rita, and you are muted. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think that's correct. I think we need a lot of energy into going into a situation here where things have changed for us. And the bottom line is we've got to raise enough money to have the resources that it takes to turn things around. And I think the crucial thing here is that people are looking for a change here. What is our plan going forward? What are we going to do differently than we've done in the past couple cycles, so that we can get people excited about the Democrats and what their plan is for going forward? That's what we have to do when we talk to our federal partners, when we talk to our large dollar donors, when we talk to our mid-sized donors, and we talk to our small donors. We have to have a plan that people can get excited about, can get energized about, that they know that the issues that they care about, that this party is going to stand behind and actually get something done on it, and have the resources that it's going to take to invest in the people in Iowa so that they invest in us.
And to follow up on that, Rita, you have any specifics on the red state image? Do you see it as a red state image, and how do we work on that?
Well, I think that when we have an election cycle like we just came off, of course, that's going to be the dialogue around that. But we all know that the issues that Democrats stand for are popular. That we know from the polling that people want to support public schools. And they need to know that Democrats are going to stand up for those public schools. When it comes to healthcare, people want affordable healthcare. Democrats have been fighting for that for a long time.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Pat. Well, I appreciate. Yep. So stick to our guns. What we know works. And I do like hearing people say that red state is an illusion. I think Deidre said that earlier when we were organizing, that it's not really a red state. And so just stick to what we know is our blue values. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Rita.
Yeah, clearly an illusion that unfortunately too many people bought into in our last cycle. Needless to say, if there's anything that we've learned over these last 3 years as we've been trotting through the pandemic, is that we don't waste an opportunity, that we use a crisis as an opportunity to advance. And just piggybacking off of the fact that we have lost the first in the nation status, that is something that this position previously depended greatly upon as it related to fundraising. Each and every one of you all are committing through this process of being our next chair. So absent that, how do we create losing the first in the nation status as an opportunity, or turn that into an opportunity? If I'm going to ask the question more succinctly, I'll say it this way. How do we frame this loss of first in the nation status in our caucuses as an opportunity? You all must have thought a little bit about that in taking on what could be an exciting role for each and every one of you all. And we're going to start with Brittany on this one.
Yeah, no, I think about this a lot. One of the biggest prides in Iowa that everybody's always known as having that status. However, I don't think it necessarily has to be a loss if it is handled correctly. And what I mean by that is that we have been feeling like outside entities, like even the DNC, the coordinated campaign and everything, have kind of let us down. This last cycle is a really good example of that. And, this gives us the opportunity to maybe have those people out of the situation so that we can say, okay, we are Iowans. We know how to do this. We know what we need to do to get this right. And so I think it really just depends on perspective. But with the money piece of it, I've done enough campaigns to know kind of how to break down the data afterwards. Senator Trongariott's race is a good example, but a couple other races before that I was a part of, we saw not only like really good fundraising numbers, but almost 70% of those fundraising numbers came from inside Iowa. And, there's PACs here that chose not to invest in the most recent election because they weren't thrilled and we were not giving them tangibly something to invest in. So I do agree with what Rita is saying about we need to have like a tangible plan. But I do think if we do this correctly, this can be a benefit for now as we continue to try to find our way back to that historical first in the nation status.
Thank you, Brittany. Rita.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that this is not a done deal. That we're in a situation here where the DNC has got some decisions to make. And so I would hope that we are not deciding that there are no options here for us going forward. So that's the first thing. We've got to continue to fight that fight for the first in the nation status, and then be very practical about how we move forward. And so again, I'm going to say that we are in a position here where it's clear that people are passionate about making a difference here in Iowa. We've got to tap into that by putting out a plan that people can get behind, that we are not going to do things the very same way we've always done them, expect different results, that instead we're going to change things up. Things are going to be different. And we are going to learn from the mistakes that have been done in the past. We know that we can make a difference in rural Iowa. We know that we've had great success in the urban areas in the state. There is a pathway to success here. And if we can lay that out for folks and get them as excited as I know we can, that then they will invest and we will have the support, the financial support that it takes. And it's going to take a team approach. We can't do this all on our own. The chair can't do this on his or her own. The staff cannot do it on their own. We're going to have to really engage a team approach all across the state, utilizing people's talents and skills and the experience that they've had previously in fundraising to make this a going concern.
Thank you, Rita. And Bob.
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. I'll repeat the question for you. So how do we frame this loss of first in the nation caucus as an opportunity? Answer it however you may.
Iowans like people that stick up for them. And I think it's time for us to stick up for the Iowa Democrats instead of the DNC on this particular one. And that's why I'm advocating having a straw poll that will probably cost us the loss of some or all of our delegates. It's too important to ignore that, and we need to move forward with that. And it will take a relatively small change on fundraising, as Rita said, and as Brittany said. We got spoiled. There were tons of money thrown at us by federal candidates and presidential candidates. They bankrolled everything and we forgot how to raise money. That's what we've got to do this year. We've got to rebuild that old time infrastructure that we had. I think we need to have at least one, possibly two more statewide fundraising events, the old Harkin Steak Fry. The Democratic Party needs to take that over. There's other things like that we can do, but we've got to learn to be self-sustaining. Give somebody a fish and they eat one meal, teach them how to fish and you got meals forever. That's where the Democratic Party is right now.
All right, Bob, thank you so much for that answer. I will say, I try not to give a whole lot of commentary. The idea of taking the steak fry from Polk County, I don't know about that. But we can have more steak fries today. We can have more. There's plenty of people to feed and plenty of steak to grill. All right, so just to let you all know, we've got about another 15 minutes for Q&A. And Joey will take the next question. We probably got time for about 2 more questions.
All right, this question is going to go.
Bob, by the way.
This question is going to be Rita, Bob, and then Brittany. So when we're talking about what our war chests and our money and things like that, there is no silver bullet on how to do things. But what are our best tools in our toolbox for shifting Iowa left? Do we do radio? Do we do newspapers, in-person interviews? Bob's idea of getting the chair to other candidates to get out and talk to the county parties. How do we do that? So Rita, you're first.
Yeah, we have to do all of those things, Joey. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. We can't leave anything untouched, untried, untargeted. That's the bottom line. Is there are all kinds of ways to raise money, and there are all kinds of people in the state who have successfully done it. We need to tap into that kind of experience, that kind of talent. I learned how to raise money in a congressional campaign and in the middle of a pandemic. I remember thinking that, back then when the pandemic first hit, how in the world are we going to raise money when we're facing a world pandemic? But, we got the job done. We raised $5 million here on my kitchen table, so it becomes a thing of being creative, but not letting any stone be unturned. And again, I'm going to repeat that I think it's truly going to take a group effort. It's going to take a team of people working on high dollar donors, mid-sized donors, small donors. We have to use social media. We have to use emails. We have to use text messages. We have to engage people, making phone calls, again, utilizing the talent and the experience that we have throughout the state to get the job done.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Bob, you're next, and then Brittany. And you're muted, Bob.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like learning how to pluck a chicken without making them squawk. And what we need to do is ask politely, but ask a bunch. And the more you ask, the more you get. That's why those nauseating emails you always see, you get more, because eventually you feel guilty enough and you give them $10 or $20 or whatever, or you do sustaining. But we need some administrative support to our legislative candidates. Little things like if you're a county candidate or something like that, doing an Act Blue button that you can put on different things. That it's simple, but if you don't know how to do it, it's complex. We need to have some seminars for the counties. We need to make sure that every county has an Act Blue button, so that when we have some central county emails shooting out, we've got an Act Blue button for that county to go on it. Likewise with the state, we do have a state Act Blue button, but we need to figure out more ways to get out there. We do it through the website, we do it through emails, but we need to do it on other social media that's out there, in addition to the fundraisers, whatever that we have.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Brittany?
I think it's a good question. I will start out that I completely agree with Rita. We have to do everything. I mean, there's nothing that we shouldn't be trying. Each type of donor needs to be courted a little bit differently. We're going to need our best people. I've already been talking to all sorts of people that I've worked with previously that just are really, stars shining as far as financial, donations and everything. I think we need to acknowledge, though, that 2020 was a year that we had a really, really terrible president that was really getting people willing to open their wallets. And so, we're not going to have that this go around. It's going to be a little bit different. We're in just a very different environment. And so just acknowledging that, I think is really key. I do have a lot of experience. My husband and I have owned a business for many years, and we've been able to build that into a really great company and organization that he is working very hard on now so that I can continue to do the work that I love. But I'm no stranger to the work that it takes to build an organization to be able to be financially sustainable. And so I think bringing all those voices in with people who are willing to do it, not only paid, but if they're willing to do some volunteer work to just teach the county parties how to raise money at that level as well, I think is really important. So I think there's a lot of different ways that we can continue to talk about, and I'd love to talk about it more when I don't have time.
Thank you, Brittany. And it seems like across the board, while maybe a silver bullet might seem attractive because it's a known thing, it looks like we're going to have to get back to some grassroots, build it. And that I think that might be a good opportunity for us, for the next chair to be able to actually build an organization they can lead. So I'm looking forward to one of you three doing it. So thanks for your answers. Deidre?
So this is our last question, excuse me, but I don't want you to hop off because our candidates have a closing statement after this last question. And I don't want you to miss that. Not to mention, we have folks who are running for our other positions that we want you all to see as well. This last question kind of combines a couple of different thoughts. We were just talking a great deal about fundraising, and we've been hearing a great deal as someone who fundraised these last, it seems like 4 or 5 years for Democratic campaigns. I hear a lot of people say, I don't give to the IDP anymore. I choose to give to the candidates themselves. Now, while we know that is not the only way to give, we do want people to give directly to the organization. There's this real sentiment there. People are connecting to candidates. Bob, you mentioned this earlier in one of your responses related to candidate recruitment. What are you doing if you are planning to put effort into candidate recruitment in every race, and how? The question is, as chair, are you planning to do candidate recruitment? If so, give us some specificity, because we talk about this often. Tell us how you are going to recruit candidates and at what levels are you planning to recruit them, because people are connecting to candidates first. And we're going to start this question with Bob.
I very briefly mentioned the full ballot committee as a start at the county level. It's a new committee, same stature as platform or something like that, that actively goes out. And not only would we look at the legislative candidates and the county candidates, we'll also look at some that the Republicans are stealing our lunch on, and that's school board candidates, either running or endorsing. But the disaster out there is that those school board members in many cases are keeping their mouths shut, even in a disaster such as we have. The teachers are squawking, but the school boards are not always there. We need to go after them too. The number one priority, I think, for salvation of the party is getting the legislature back a little bit, but the county people build the stability within that party. The county auditors, the supervisors, we need those too. And yes, I'll be going out there and I'll be cracking the whip on that to make sure that we have a full ballot. It is the cheapest way that we can get votes for the governor and the senator and the congressman, by filling up those bottom ballots.
Thank you. Brittany.
Yeah, again, thought about this a lot. I've obviously thought about running for office. I know a lot of other people that have as well. But the first question that tends to come up, at least recently in the last, 4 or 5 years, is, well, can you raise $1 million? And immediately that shuts down people who have the heart and the passion and that could elicit the support that would bring money to the door of the IDP to support them. Accessibility of things like Vote Builder needs to not be so costly to the point that candidates can't access it, so that it's not something that is a privilege, but just something that we can all work together on. And I know that there are so many campaigns across the state that experienced that just this last cycle. Wanting to make that more accessible, and just really having an ear for people who sit down and say, you know what, I think I want to do this, right? Primaries are important in our party so that we can hear all the voices, so that we can figure out who the best person is to run against the other person. Because what we're doing right now is not working. It hasn't been working, and we just saw it. We are in a very difficult situation. And so candidate recruitment would be something that I'd really like to invest in and make it a very open process, so that anybody who's interested could come, whether it's quarterly, and learn more about what we can do and how to become a candidate and where to start, and then build on from there.
Thank you, Brittany. Rita.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree that candidate recruitment is so important. Leadership matters, right? And the experience that people have as they run for different offices makes a difference. But I really believe that it starts very locally. And so to encourage and to model and to help county parties to create strong recruitment committees, local people who encourage their local leadership to step up to these positions, like we've been talking about, for city council, for library boards, for conservation board, for the extension service. Those are the places where we start to get people who have democratic ideals and understand the importance of getting involved in their communities. Then they develop more and more leadership abilities, and then they naturally step into the leadership positions that end up at the State House or end up running for Congress. They earn their stripes as they go, but they don't get there often on their own. They need to be encouraged. They need to be told that they have leadership capability, and that people have faith in them. And then a big lesson that I was happy to learn this time as county chair was how important, I've seen this in other cycles where people run for office, aren't successful, and then drop off and never come back again. That cannot happen, and I think the big key there is to see that you have support for these people, that they, even though they might lose, that they are supported by their local county.
All right, thank you, Rita. As you all have heard, all three of our candidates believe in candidate recruitment and building our bench. And so that is very, very good to hear as you all start to transition your thoughts into your last 1 minute closing. I would love for each and every one of you all who are still tapped into us right now to just send our candidates some love, because they just went through about 45 to 50 minutes of some questions that they didn't get in advance, and to send them some love. Just tell them where you're from. What county are you from? Let them know who's on the line, because we've got a great group of people who are here. Now, candidates, is the time for your closing remarks, at least for this section of the last 7 days of your campaign. And I wanted to start our closing remarks with Brittany.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I know I don't have a lot of time here, but I think that all these questions are fantastic, but there are so many more that need to be talked about. And so you may have heard something from us for about an hour, but please don't hesitate to reach out. I am always going to answer a call from anybody, because I think that there's a lot more that can be said. I truly believe in what we can do here in Iowa. And, I have a really strong vision, and I really hope that I can put my energy towards that, but I don't want to do it alone. I want to be able to do it together and make sure that we can rebuild this party in the way that everybody deserves across the state. And so that is what I had to say. If anybody would like to speak with me, I'll put my number in the chat as well. Just really appreciate everybody's time, and would love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Brittany, and thanks for agreeing to be a part of this forum discussion today. Next, we are going to go to Rita.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Deidre. Thank you, Joey. Thanks to everybody who made this possible. I think this is the way we like to see democracy work, right? So I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to be here and to have this conversation. The one thing that I want to impress upon all of you is that even though we are facing some tough times, there are so many people that are totally committed to this party and to making a difference and getting more Democrats elected. And that should give us all courage. It should give us all a hope for the future, because that's what it's going to take. And I cannot tell you how inspired I am by the conversations that I've had over the last few weeks, talking to so many people that want to be a part of success for the Democratic Party in the future. So thank you so much for being here, and let's get to work and get this done.
Awesome. All right, we are going to transition into the next part of our discussion.
Wait a minute, Bob has to go.
Oh,
Bob
I'm sorry, Bob. I'm so sorry.
I'd never forgive you. No,
Next time I see you, I'll give you a big old hug. I'm sorry.
there we go.
Last minute close mark. I am so sorry.
Yeah, now I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, I'm really pleased. It's been a broad-ranging conversation. I'm very pleased with the county organizations that put this together. I'd like to reiterate that I've got an extensive background, not only 3 times on the Central Committee, county chair, state representative, of federal appointee under Jimmy Carter, national think tank director. There's more, and many of you have already got my email. Take a peek at it. But I think that it's a great opportunity to move forward. I think that if you wanted to get some of my thoughts that are encapsulated, go to my Twitter account, which is & Kraus for Iowa. And there's a lot of little bullets in there. I've got a lot on the education dilemma that we're facing right now, and there will be more no matter win or lose. And if I win, I'll do many of the things I said, and I'll listen to the other people that I've worked with, not only as candidates, but you as county chairs and central committee members, to try to make it happen. Thank you.
Yes. Again, thank you, Bob, and thank you to Rita and Brittany. Thank you to all 3 of you all for signing up to do this. And we see you all faces a lot. And so regardless of the outcome, we're all looking forward to working with each and every one of you on a consistent basis moving forward, because as something you said, Rita, we do this together. There's no other way. And what I would like for us to also think about with each and every one of you all who are on this call today, with not only the candidates that you just heard from, but the candidates that you'll take a peek into later on. Make sure you share the good that you heard today. There might have been something that you disagreed with, and that's okay. But let's talk about the good that you heard and the commitment that these folks are signing up for, because that's what our folks need to hear on the outside. That's what they need to hear. All right, Joey, all yours.
I'll quickly thank you all as well. And thank you all for being here. Rita, Bob, Brittany, it was wonderful hearing all of your ideas. And in the coming weeks, I'm sure we'll form a consensus. And for those of you listening, if you're going to jump off, I'd encourage you to stick around, because we're going to talk about our vice chair, secretary, and treasurer candidates. But if you are going to jump off and one of these 3 really moved you, we will be sending you an email tomorrow with your SCC elected officials who will be voting on the chair, or your county party information. So if somebody moved you, talk to the person that's going to vote, tell them who you supported and why, and make a difference, because one person votes, and then the chair of all these other caucuses vote, and the vice chairs can talk, but they cannot vote. So get out there and make a difference. So thank you for joining us. Without further ado, we're going to move on to the vice chair folks who are here. We've spent all this time talking to the chair. We're going to give each one of these vice chairs 2 minutes to make their case. Still very important role. We're fortunate to have both Gregory Christensen and Brian McLean with us, who are going to be giving their 2-minute speeches. And we're going to start with Gregory. Are you here, Gregory?
I am. Thank you, Joey, and thank you, Deidre. Good evening, everyone. A big shout out to Southwest Iowa Democrats and the Heart of Iowa Democrats for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Gregory Christensen. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm running for IDP vice chair because my friend Cindy Axne should be in Congress right now. Deidre DeJear should be our governor right now. And we lost too many seats in the Iowa House and Iowa Senate when we should have gained seats. As a party, we've inadvertently overlooked rural areas, younger voters, and low-income communities. Well, I'm an Iowa Democrat under 40, and I grew up in rural America, and I want to help change our party. As the 3rd district chair, I made it my mission to show up everywhere and to talk to everyone, and I promise to do the same as an IDP vice chair. I offer you my broad background of involvement in the Iowa Democratic Party. I worked in the Iowa caucuses, I ran a top targeted race for the Iowa Senate, took courses at Drake with Professor and Iowa House Minority Leader Jennifer Converst, knocked more doors for Cindy Axne's campaign during the 2018 and 22 cycles than any other volunteer, chaired a district convention, and most recently served as chair of Iowa's 3rd congressional district. The Iowa Democratic Party is a part of my history here in the state of Iowa, and I want to help shape our party moving forward. A little about me, I have a bachelor's degree in agriculture from Oregon State University, a master's in international relations and diplomacy from Northeastern in Boston, a master of arts in communications and public affairs from Drake right here in Des Moines. And I hope that you'll consider all of these backgrounds and my experience and my vision for our party moving forward in your decision for vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. All right, Brian, are you with us?
I am.
All right, go ahead. 2 minutes. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you very much, Gregory. I think I am going to start out with, my name's Brian McLean. I am chair of the Progressive Caucus. I've got a extensive and somewhat, it's a lot of platform committee. You can feel sorry for me. I wouldn't have it any other way though. When I ended up coming in as Progressive Caucus chair, and even before that, it's been my goal to try and open up this party to the people and make it more accessible, make it more for them. And when we've seen that when the Democratic Party fails, people get hurt, people suffer. And we need to keep that in mind when we are going out there and trying to reclaim things. So right now, the Democratic Party is at a rare crossroads. On the 28th, we're going to be able to address things either directly or indirectly as to the direction we're going to go with the party. Are we going to continue to circle the wagons and consolidate around leadership? Or are we going to put this party back in the hands of the people? Are we going to empower people? Are we going to use the tools that we have to make sure that they know that they can change the world themselves? And I think that's going to be the biggest goal. I have seen what diplomacy can do. I can see what empowerment can do. I've seen people come together from both the left and the center to come together. And I think I'll just go ahead and I'll close with this from Fred Hampton. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. That's something that I believe in. I want to build coalitions, and I think I can do that as vice chair.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. All right, we're going to move into our secretaries as well.
You know, it takes a lot of different buckets in order to make the Iowa Democratic Party run as a well-oiled machine. And secretary is one of those roles that we really, really need. And a good secretary, we've got two good people who've signed up to potentially be the next secretary of the Iowa.
Somebody's running against me.
And the first one is the Ruth Thompson. Ruth.
Hi, Deidre.
Just a second, Ruth. We're going to get you spotlighted so everybody can see you.
Actually, my camera was on earlier, but now my computer won't detect my camera. So you may not get to see me, but those of you who've seen me know that that's okay. I just want to let folks know that while I consider myself a city girl and I do live in Des Moines, up until moving here, my life has been tied to small rural communities. I was raised in the southern coal fields of West Virginia, married a mayor of a small town in a rural town in Illinois, where they were experiencing a lot of things that rural counties here are experiencing: rapid influx of immigrants, loss of jobs. So while I do live in Des Moines, I'm well acquainted with the challenges and the joys of rural life. I've spent 25 years working with programs and systems that impact older senior citizens and people with disabilities. And prior to moving to Iowa in 2013, I was the executive director of a statewide cross-disability organization in Illinois. And then after settling here on the south side of Des Moines, we immediately engaged with the Polk County Democrats. Our first contact with them was canvassing the Polk County Convention, gathering signatures for one of the groups that we volunteered for. We've served as precinct captains in Polk County since 2014, and I've served as our caucus chairperson in 2016, 18, and 2020. I also served as the vice chair for the IDP Disability Caucus for 2 terms and the Senior Caucus for 1. I'm a member of AFSCME, Local 1868, and I'm currently the secretary of the Polk County Democrats. My work today involves supervising and recruiting volunteers and interns who participate in research and outreach to folks who've experienced violent crime or sexual assault. I'm a certified victim advocate. I'm also on the chair. I served as the chairperson of the Central Iowa Center for Independent Living for 8 years. And
Ruth,
I
I can't find you, so your 2 minutes are up. So I had to just stop.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just quickly say, don't cut me off, please. That 2 of the most important things the secretary can bring to the IDP is greater transparency and giving a voice to all Democrats, not just long-term high-profile Democrats. And I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Ruth. And then we have Paula Martinez. Hello, Paula.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I just want to share with you that I think this position is as important as the chair, the vice chair, and the treasurer. I have served, I was born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. And so presently I live in Warren County, been here for now over 30 years, I believe, and served as co-chair for the Warren County Democrats. I have held many positions as secretary treasurer, from the union to the Women's Auxiliary to the Democratic Party. Also served as Polk County's vice chair when I did live in Polk County, Iowa. I have truly been dedicated to recruiting Democrats to the party, as well as to people of color. I think this is so important to me, at least. We continue, the Democrats and everyone continues to talk about diversity, putting people's faces at the table. And to this day, we've been very fortunate that Ross Wilbur has been our chair and June Owens has been our vice chair, that yes, there has been a few people of color at this table. So I feel for the executive board that I could render the service needed to serve as a secretary for the Democratic Party. And I am a team player. I have always been willing to do the grunt work as well as the little glory that I sometimes receive. I'm presently serving as the president for South Central Iowa Federation of Labor. And as you can tell, unions and labor are always at the table. We are always there to support, and we need to continue to be represented. So it is my great pleasure to seek this position, and I hope that I can be elected. And if not, I'm truly going to work with everyone who is elected. So I wish everyone the best of luck. It's a race. It's running as a candidate, and everyone should try it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Awesome, Paula. Thank you. So our 2 candidates for secretary are Paula Martinez and Ruth Thompson. Back to you, Joey, to finish us off.
All right, as we spent 45 minutes talking about our chairs, a lot of them mentioned how important fundraising and just money in general is. And so the last 2 folks we're going to hear from tonight are
maybe twice.
They might have mentioned it maybe somewhere in there. I'm not sure. So as we looked forward to collecting all this money that we're going to be having next year, we got two really great treasurer candidates that you're going to hear from. But first, Alexandria Dermody and then Glenn Hurst. So we're going to start with you, Alexandria. Are you here?
Yes, and I will turn on my camera for just a minute. However, my internet is very bad. I want people to be able to see me though, but then I'm going to turn it off because my internet will probably break. But hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra Dermody. I'm a nonprofit organizer and director. I work with a local faith-based social justice organization in the Quad Cities where I serve as vice president and treasurer. I've also run for office before. Everyone knows me as the woman who ran at 18 years old for city council. And I manage and own my own marketing agency. I also do a lot of fundraising for the nonprofit I work for. And so I decided I wanted to run for treasurer because I understand the financial hardships that the Democratic Party is facing. And it's very similar to the nonprofit sector. You know, you have to write grants, you have to be reliant on people willing to donate. And I want to use my experience in both the for-profit and nonprofit worlds to really bring the party together and get us the funding that we need to take back all of these offices and really restore faith in Iowa's government, you know, with the current leadership being what it is. We need to show the Democrats, we are the party of the people and we need to reach people. I'm also probably one of the youngest people in the room. I am 22. I have an associate's degree in business and I have undergraduate certificates in women, gender, and sexuality studies, population studies, and comparative ethnic studies. So I have a lot of experience in business and sociology. And I want to use all of that experience to really just build our party back up and take back the House, the Senate, Congress, and all of that stuff in 2024. So with that, thank you. I will post a little bit about my background in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, I'll put my contact info. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra. And next we're going to hear from Glenn Hurst. Glenn, are you on?
I am here.
All right, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Glenn Hurst. I am chair of the Rural Caucus right now. I'm an elected official in Minden, Iowa on the city council. I've served on the SEC board for the last 3 cycles. And I'm not running against Alexandra for this position. We'll be in fine hands, in her hands. But I am running because I see a very specific need and a specific concern within what's going on in the State Central Committee right now. Brittany made a great point. We must rebuild trust, and the SCC, I believe, is honestly poised to make a tragic mistake, adopting a set of bylaws that will put spending power in the hands of individuals who have not been elected to the SCC, and those hands are already in the power of the Truman Fund and the Senate Majority Fund, and I think it would be, it certainly is not a prudent move on the part of the State Central Committee to do that, but there really is a very strong push and campaign to make that happen. The reason I have concerns about that is in 2020, we saw people who had their hands in charge of those 2 pockets become leaders in the SCC and move money out of the Iowa Democratic Party's bank into those 2 funds. And I think it's important for us to understand the conflict of interest that happens when we create that. It's important to have somebody who's been involved with the SCC and would be prudent with that money. So if these bylaws passed, my intention would be to be a gatekeeper of that money and to be a voice that has an understanding of the politics behind what goes on within our own party. I don't see major donors lined up with $500,000 checks in their hand today. So we're going to be working with small dollars, and we have to be protective of them.
Okay, well, thank you, Glenn. And once again, for treasurer, we have two candidates, Alexandra Dermody and Glenn Hurst. So that wraps up our talking with the future leaders of the Iowa Democratic Party. We just have a few things to leave you with, and then Deidre and I might spitball a little bit. I don't know, talk a little bit.
You're gonna
Just again, if anybody listening has a very strong opinion.
Style.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was talking over you there, Deidre.
And you were gonna freestyle. That's what we had
Oh
planned.
yeah, I usually do the beatboxing in the background. I'm not a lyrical one. I just wanted to make sure that everybody on the call still, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for listening to all of the candidates for the various levels we have. If you are strongly opinionated, reach out to the people that will be voting because they want to hear from you. Otherwise, they're just going to make their own choice. That's how, even in the Democratic Party, democracy is an important foundation. So talk to the folks that are going to be making the decision and let them know your opinion.
And to the great 65 folks who remained here to the end, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. You all are leaders in your own right. You are messengers in your own right. And I saw many of you taking copious notes as we went throughout the discussion today. Thank you for doing that. And thank you in advance for sharing with other people about this work. There are a lot of reasons that we could utilize and talk about today that would move more people to throw in the towel. But I am reminded of the importance of hard work. And it's something that I believe in to my core. Hard work guarantees nothing, but without it, you don't stand a chance. And so while some are saying, I'm done with the party, thank you for your commitment, because your commitment is the reason why people like me are able to be here and voice, whatever opinion I have in this moment, right? Had it not been for people who worked ethically and hard and tenaciously to move forward progress, I wouldn't be here. So you all, thank you for your commitment. We're not done. And I'm glad that you're committed in this process.
I think it's easy. Deidre's got it really close to her mind, and it's encouraging to see her still active. I know when I ran in 2020 and lost, it was a blow, and I didn't really participate. I think Rita said something earlier, how it wasn't our county party. I'm not going to throw Montgomery County on the bus, but to see Deidre right after a loss, she ran her heart out to be right here involved again. I think we should all be really appreciative to see that she still wants to make a difference and she's still here. And right on the heels of that, these two groups that ran this forum tonight, we might have been the one prettier face than the other on the call here tonight, but this group, the Southwest Iowa Democrats and the Heart of Iowa Democrats, they show us how it can be done. They take rural counties that individually don't have a lot of resources, but they bring things together, and the sum of them, their whole, is better than the sum of each of their individual county parts. And so if we can take anything from this, it's that there's a way to do it. These rural counties have figured out how to do it, and let's lead by their example.
They sure did, Joey, because they figured out a way to get me committed to this while I was out of the country. They know.
What'd you get back at 3:30 this morning or something from vacation? Yeah, welcome home.
We're here to fight another day. Thank you, all. Thank you, Southwest Dems and Heart of Iowa Dems. We love you all. We love you all dearly.
Well, that wraps it up, everybody. So no beatboxing, no freestyling. So y'all take care and stay involved. Thank you.